Hi everyone, my name's Sam Pritchard. I'm the marketing manager at Major Events International, and I'm really happy to say that today I'm joined by Kate Beavan, who's worked in F1 for over 20 years. She's joining us at the event summit on October 8th on a panel. So Kate, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone?
Hello, everyone. Hello, Sam. Thank you for this. My name's Kate Beavan. I have a few decades of working, my entire career, in fact, of working within the Formula One industry. Originally as a lawyer with Bernie Eccleston for many years, a team before that called Arrows. When Liberty came in, I worked for Liberty as Director of Hospitality and Experiences. And I'm now set up on my own. And one of the projects that I most love is More Than Equal.
Brilliant, brilliant. So yeah, let's just kick it off. So as you said, you've had a long career in Formula One, hospitality, and now More Than Equal. What was it back then when you started your journey? What drew you to the world of motorsport, and how has your passion evolved over the years that you've been involved in this?
I had no passion for Formula One. I wasn't a lifelong fan. I fell into it completely by accident.
Oh,
I
okay.
was I was originally trained as a lawyer. I was practicing as a lawyer. My biggest client was Tom Walkinshaw. Anyone who knows motorsport will know that name. He's not around anymore, but he was a legend. And he asked me to come and work for him. Very shortly afterwards, he bought a Formula One team. And that's how I accidentally fell into the sport. Why did I stay is a little bit more interesting. Why did I stay? Because it's the most endlessly fascinating sport you could possibly work in. If you have a very low attention span, as I do, then you are in a sport where big deals are done, where big changes are made, and this is done weekly, relentlessly, year on year. So it's very fast paced and innovative business environment. What I came to discover, the background as a lawyer, unusually maybe, is that I have an absolute passion and a love for live events.
Yeah.
I think that's why I ended up from being a lawyer to being director of hospitality and experiences, because I found that sport is very different from any other industry because of its passionate fans and its live events. Live events are special. I think COVID showed us that. And
Yeah.
that's why I stayed, and that's why I love it.
Yes, I totally agree. Nothing beats live sport, in my opinion. Being there and seeing it live, and not watching a recording is great, but there's nothing beats seeing it live, seeing those iconic moments that people look back on years to come.
Yeah.
But when you're there and you can see it, or even watching it on the telly, there's nothing beats it. Nothing beats it. So throughout your career, and now you're more than equal. What inspired you to first get involved with More Than Equal, and how do you see it as someone who knows F1 so well? How do you see it impacting the future of F1 and motorsport in general?
Well, it's not so much what inspired me to get
Yeah.
involved with More Than Equal, it's who. And that was David Coulthard. So David
Yeah.
Coulthard, for him, it's a very personal issue. He was originally involved with W Series in
Yes.
setting that up. And the reason why he got involved is his sister. His sister, and he will tell you this, his sister, they grew up as kids all karting because their father was madly into motor racing. And his sister was as good, if not better, he will say, at karting than he was. And yet, for many different reasons, he was the one who was propelled to the top. So for him, it's always been a personal issue. He didn't felt like they cracked the issue with W Series, and he wanted to have another go at cracking the problem. So when he asked me if I wanted to help him set this up, it took about a nanosecond, or in Formula One speak, a thousandth of a second,
Yes. Yeah.
to say yes. So that's why I got involved. How do I think it will impact the future? I think it's one of the most significant growth drivers for the sport. Formula One is arguably the biggest gender neutral sport on the planet, where very different from football and rugby and all of those other sports where women can compete head to head, and yet a woman hasn't been near the top competitively in Formula One for nearly 50 years. And when you think about it, that is as much an opportunity as it is a problem to solve.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And moving on to the next question, it quite works quite well. What, from your perspective, what are these barriers? Like, why haven't we seen an F1 driver on the grid over the past 50 years? And what is stopping women from reaching the highest levels of motorsport and F1?
I think if you go back, I'll do a pitch for our website here at More Than Equal. The first thing we did was we conducted a major piece of research into investigating exactly that question. Right. Our rationale was this: you cannot hope to begin to solve a problem unless you have broken that problem down and understand what the problem is. So that's why we undertook a piece of research called Inside Track. And it was the biggest piece of research that's been done on women in motorsport. And from that, from a very, very complex bit of research, we boiled it down to two things. There are two major problems. And in a way, they're kind of obvious for anyone who knows the sport. One is participation. You know, there aren't enough girls going karting. There aren't enough women racing. It becomes a numbers game. The smaller the pool you have to draw from, the less likely it is you are to find that champion, that real standout talent. The same with any sport. Yeah. So participation is clearly one of the main barriers that are stopping women from rising to the top. The second problem, performance. When they get into the sport, the small number that get into the sport are not staying in the sport. So the average career is only 5 years for girls and women in motorsport. The average career for boys and men in motorsport is 12 years. So we started to drill deeper into why. Why is it that shorter period of shorter career? And we found a number of things that needed addressing. We can't tackle, really, a small organization like us can't tackle the participation gap. So we threw down the gauntlet to the sport. Formula One, the FIA, the teams, the race promoters, go and get more girls into motorsport. Go and get girls karting, right? And Formula One, with the Academy, is doing a fantastic job with role modeling, with showing, you know, a bunch of 10-year-old girls that there are girls in race suits, so go and ask your parents to take you karting. Yeah. So the participation, we've thrown the gauntlet down to the sport. The performance gap, the fact that women are not staying long in the sport and are really not, therefore, being able to reach the highest levels, is something that we are tackling. And we're beginning to break down the problem there. And a lot of the problems are, of course, financial. Yeah. But the problems are financial for boys as well. They're just exacerbated for girls. So the problems are financial, but also some key disadvantages that girls have. There is no dedicated training program that's ever been put together for girls progressing in motorsport. Now, we know from other sports, and the wonderful thing about More Than Equal is it's bringing in expertise from outside of motorsport. We know from other sports that you need to, one, spot talent very early and intervene early, and two, provide that talent with a bespoke and dedicated high performance training program to see them through those crucial development years. Say it was 14 to 18. Now, you don't train a girl in athletics or in tennis or in football the same way that you train a boy in those crucial years, because their bodies are different, the psychology is different, there's a whole set of different, hormonally they're different. So what we've done is put together a driver development program specifically designed for girls between those ages, to spot them early and then put them on a pathway with a dedicated program behind them that will help propel them to the top.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't even think that. Now you've explained it, it makes total sense that these training programs do have to be tailored completely differently for a young boy or a young girl. It's something that you wouldn't, but yeah, hearing you say that, it makes complete sense that these people need a completely different regime of how to work and how to develop their skills that, like you said, it's never been done before. So being the first ones to implement that and really, drive home, this is specifically for young women to get into F1 is a really, well, it's key. It's key if we want to find that F1 world, this female F1 world champion.
Absolutely.
So you touched on it a little bit there. What do you think the part of other stakeholders, like the sponsors, the teams, the governing bodies that all play a part in F1, how are you trying to tell them to almost change the way they're thinking when they're looking for these new drivers? Are you showcasing this program to them and being like, look, you can implement this, or is there any other ways you're doing
that? Yeah, I think a part of this is a huge cultural and mindset shift that every sport needs to go to. in order to effect change, and certainly on gender basis change. So, you know, the way that financial institutions have to shift their way of thinking if they want to recruit more women into senior roles, or the tech industry. This is across every industry. You have to, you have to create cultural change and a change of mindset. But in motorsport specifically, we need, I think, two things. One, we need to learn from outside of our sport. So we have brought in expertise from outside of Formula One. The head of our high performance program has come from British Cycling.
Okay.
Right. He had no experience in motorsport, but he knows how to do a high performance program that is designed for women and girls, that's different from one that's designed for boys and men. So you bring in that outside expertise, and then you need to, in a way, I don't want to say educate the sport because that sounds a little bit patronizing, but you need a cultural shift in the sport that says this, that explains this is the future of the sport. If you want to double the size of motorsport or Formula One, you know, in 10 years' time, it's not so easy to double the number of races, but it is easier to double the audience, right? Where are you going to get that audience from? It's from women. So you need to sell it into the sport on a positive. You need to say this is a growth opportunity, right? This isn't a problem on your CSR checklist that you feel forced to address. And I think that mindset, changing that mindset, is one of the biggest challenges in the sport. So this isn't a problem that's number 9 on your list of things to do, right? This is number 1 on your list to do, not because it's a problem, but because it's an opportunity. And if we can achieve that, I think we then get the whole of the sport behind it, because more than equal on its own cannot solve this problem. We need the sport to come together to do that. And every other sport has shown that the way to success is collaboration.
Collaboration. I couldn't agree more. And you touched upon there about how important role models are for people growing up, especially in sport. I know me growing up, you have the football players that you're obsessed with, or the F1 drivers that you're obsessed with, and you really look up to them. And I think it's such a powerful tool for younger people to get into sport. And how are More Than Equal, how are you trying to create these? I know the F1 Academy is being created, but is it more like showing more races on TV, like more media coverage, so people, when they're on the social media, they're seeing these drivers and they're thinking, wow, I can do that? What steps have you tried to take in really creating those female drivers, those role models, those female role models?
I think it's a tricky line to navigate, this one, because we've recruited 6 girls onto our program, our first cohort of girls that we've identified as having potential, but they're young, they're just starting out. There's no point in televising them right now, right? Just as there's no point, the BBC aren't going to televise your school football match.
No.
Because you're just learning, or you're a right? So, you know, the role modelling, I think, is best done in a different way. The role modelling is best done by things like the academy. And they are beginning to improve the distribution of that content, right? And that's good. Lots and lots of girls around the world will see girls in race suits and they'll go, I want to do that. That's brilliant for role modeling. But also, I think there is a part the media can play, and that is, I think there are a lot of women working in very senior roles in Formula One, in very critical roles in Formula One. You see that the head of strategy at Red Bull is a woman, the head of strategy at Mercedes is a woman. When you watch the battle on track between Max and Lewis, right? Who's deciding how that race is run? Who's making the key calls? Who's winning and losing those races based on smart strategy? It's actually 2 women with brains the size of Berkshire. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. Those strategies, when they put in place, you see it all happen on the track and TV, and you're thinking, wow, Max is what a great driver. Yes, of course, he's a brilliant driver, and
he's got brilliant designers and brilliant mechanics, but who helped win that race?
Who's telling, no, you've got to pit now because we can do this and do that? It's not him being like, oh, I'm doing this on instinct. It's someone in his ear going, no, we've reviewed everything, we're doing this.
Right, and those are amazing women who've spent the week writing code, simulation code, to simulate the 100 different versions of the race that could run, that are trying to play a game of, it's like a game of chess with 10 teams. and those are women doing that, and I don't think that gets highlighted enough.
No,
it gets mentioned, but actually the next time you watch a race and think you are watching a titanic battle between two very smart women is a different way to frame it, you know.
I do find that part of Formula One I find fascinating, the strategy involved, and because you hear them on the radio, they're going, "Oh right, we're going plan D3."
Yeah,
so they've gone through all A, they've gone through all B, now they're on to like C, D. Like I find that all the analytics are part of it, and so interesting. And going back to more than equal, what milestones do you hope to achieve over the next 5 to 10 years? What would success look like in terms of change the landscape for Formula F1? What are those milestones?
Well, I think what we're looking at, as I said, we're doing two things. We are building a talent identification program, and I like to call it the Moneyball of motorsport. We're using data in order to try and spot potential talent really early, 12 to 14. Once you've identified that talent, we have built a driver development program that's specifically designed for women and girls to take them through that period all the way to the top. So this is a completely holistic high performance program. It's teaching strategy, it's teaching race skills, it's teaching technical skills, it's on track, it's off track, it's physical, it's mental, it's nutritional, an entire high performance program for them. And what we're trying to do is build a machine that spots, identifies, and churns out cohorts of really fast, well-trained drivers. And from that machine pumping out really well-trained female drivers into the motorsport ecosystem, we hope then to be able to find 2 or 3, and our aim is to get 2 or 3 of them into Formula One, racing competitively. Not there because they're women, but there because they are really fast.
There to compete, there to win.
They're there to win, yes, exactly right, exactly right. And we've got the first cohort of girls, and you know they are little warriors, and they are, you know, they are our first cohort, but we hope to create this conveyor belt of hyper fast, really well trained female race drivers who just go out there, and from that we will find 1, 2, 3 to put into Formula One.
Yeah, I think that sounds brilliant. I think that's right. It's not there yet. I think it's so important that it's not there just because they're women. It's there because they're fast, they're ready to compete, and they're there to win. It shouldn't just be, oh, they're here because they're here. It's that they're there because they're quick, and why wouldn't they be quick? They've done the training, they've done everything they need to be. There's no reason for them not to be there. So yeah, I totally agree with that kind of thing. And do you see this initiative of More Than Equal in motorsport inspiring similar efforts in other traditionally male sports? Would you hope to inspire, I don't know, like you said, someone in rugby to be like, hang on, or another sport to really to drive women in that particular sport?
If I'm honest, I think that we have as much, if not more, to learn from other sports as they do from us. Okay. But I do think that motorsport and Formula One is a little bit behind what other sports have been doing. Now, other sports are different because most of them are not gender neutral.
Yeah.
Right. So the rise of women's football has been phenomenal and welcome, but its popularity sits alongside the male game.
Yeah.
And you know, rugby as well has been doing brilliant things. They're having sellout crowds for women's rugby, and of course, our CEO Ali Donnelly is very much at the heart of that. She's just launched another initiative in women's rugby. So, in a way, they're doing it in a different environment because they're doing it in sports that are segregated, right? And we're not.
Yeah.
But in terms of learning lessons, I think they are a little bit ahead of us. They've already figured out, and they're by no means there. Look at football. They've already figured out that the physiology of a woman playing football is different to the physiology of a man. You look at the ACL injury issue, the boots issue. So other sports have already realized this and are dealing with it. So I think, you know, we've got as much to learn from them as they have from us.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah. Moving to your time when you were working for Formula One and hospitality and everything, during your time saw massive transformations in the hospitality, the introducing of the Paddock Club, and then you had COVID hit you, and of course no one attending races, and you launched like the virtual experiences during COVID. What key lessons from that experience could you think could be applied to other event industries? Or when you were met with COVID, was it straight away like, right, we need to do a virtual experience? Like, what was going on for you guys during that period, and how can other events be inspired by what you guys did?
Well, I said at the very beginning of this that I'm not a diehard fan. I didn't work on Formula One because I was a fan. I fell into it by accident.
Yeah.
Right. The reason I stayed was because I told you it's a compelling sport to work in. And one of the reasons is its pace of innovation, its pace of change. Formula One is very, very good at innovation, change, and adaptability. And I think that's the key thing I've seen over 25 years in Formula One. Its product and its offering has adapted to its audience, right? Not always fast, not always well as it could do, but it's certainly done that. I think as I said, in the event space, in the live event space, Formula One was a great place to innovate. And I think some sports are not innovating in the way they organize their everything from F&B, hospitality, fan experience at live events. They're not innovating as quickly as they could do. Now, I was very fortunate at Formula One because I had, first of all, Bernie Ecclestone as a boss, and then I had Liberty. Liberty came in and they said, go and do what you think is the right thing to do, and we'll see you later. They completely unleashed us to go and do what we thought was the right thing. And we looked at the events. You look at your audience. Here's the thing with sport. The sports stay the same, but the audiences evolve. So the audience that a sport is any sport is looking at now is very different from the audience that they had for that sport 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? But the products and the way it's delivered haven't changed that much. And I see that as the biggest opportunity that sport has, is to begin to adapt your products and your offerings at live events towards an audience that is different and evolving. And I think we all found from COVID, we found it from COVID. Other sports found it as well. We inherited new audiences from COVID because everyone was at home.
Exactly.
Yeah. So sports have been gifted an opportunity to speak to a younger and a newer audience coming to them for the first time. And how you talk to that audience and how you present your events to them is really, really important. You can't just keep doing the same thing you were doing 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I saw this in Formula One. We had the Paddock Club, which was a brilliant offering, but it was doing the same thing it had been doing for 20 years. So we kind of looked at it and we thought, let's rip up the rule book here and say, how can we do things a bit differently? We created a brand called F1 Experiences, which was all about taking the passion that sports fans have, which is magnified times 10 once you get them through the gates.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
Same in sport. You've got passionate fans at home, but times that passion by 10 once you get them through your gates. What do they want? What do they want to do? What do they want to see? You know, they're not just there to watch the game, the match, or whatever it is, because the truth is you can do that better at home. Most sport you can watch better on the television at home. So why are they there? They're there to see it, yes, but that's not the primary driver of being at a live event. And this applies to music as well. I can listen to music better on Spotify than going to a concert. So why go to a concert, right? So you're not there just for the delivery of the product. You are there for the experience.
Yeah.
And the experience is where event organizers and rights holders can really, really make a difference. You can create experiences from thin air. So with F1 Experiences, we didn't take all of that. What all sports fans want is a little bit of a behind the scenes look.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you like to go and have a look at a car with the engine cover off? Would you like to go and have a look around a garage? You know, yes, of course you would.
Of course I do, yeah.
Right, okay. So I've got, would you like to go and stand on the grid under the lights? You know, would you like to go and see the drivers' trophies? Would you like to go and see the timing room? Would you like to go and have a look around the paddock or the pit lane? Yes, you would. You're a fan, of course you would, right? Who would you give those experiences to? When we created F1 Experiences, we decided we weren't going to take all those amazing behind the rope experiences and package them up for VIPs.
Yeah.
Because frankly, my experience is that VIPs are less passionate fans than the ones who are sitting grandstand being rained on and baked.
Yeah, for 3 days straight or what have you, or
Correct.
camping out, or yeah.
Correct. So what you do is you take the experiences, which are all things you've got lying around the place, you know, they're all there at the event, and you begin to offer those in a tiered product way to all of the fans from the bottom up.
Yeah.
And you will find that, you know, whether your event is sold out or whether your event is not sold out, there will always, always, always be a healthy percentage of fans who will pay a premium for an additional behind the scenes experience. And those are easy to produce, by the way. They don't cost a lot of money. Well, how much does it cost us to let you behind the rope a little bit? You know, it doesn't. It doesn't. Right. So you can create those experiences. There will always be a market for it. If you build it, they will come. And if you spread it around to all of the fans, make it accessible to all fans, you can create revenue streams from thin air out of that, at the same time as creating something fresh, at the same time as tapping into the passion of your fans and giving the fans something new. So I think innovation is the key to this. We cannot, with evolving audiences, keep offering the same products.
Yeah.
Keep rethinking it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that kind of, the next question I was going to ask you is regarding, because with sports these days, you have these amazing hospitality packages that cost thousands. And it's, like you say, often the real fans, the core fans, those people who are in the stands, the people who have been waiting for hours to get in. And I think you've touched on it there, but it's just so important to, and if you have any more comments of balancing the luxury offerings like the Paddock Club and all these things, but also balancing it with broader accessibility so other fans can, with a standard ticket, they can get as much of the day as someone who's paid VIP. And how important is that to balance those high-end experiences with the people who may just have a standard ticket who are coming to see for the day to sit in the stand?
It's really, really important because you know, I think anyone working in sport or live events, or anyone trying to sell live events to anyone, whether it's music or cultural or sport, will have seen what we were talking about before, the same sort of bounce in audience post-COVID, right? Because if COVID was a tragedy around the world, but it did one thing: it proved that live events are here to stay, right? That the people everywhere value being together at a live event, right? That produced a bump and a new audience for sport, and I'm sure for music as well. But certainly in sport, we created a new audience. The new audience, you need to segment your audience better in sport now. So I remember 20, 30 years ago, you could easily write the profile of the fan of your sport. If it was rugby or football, you could paint a picture of them. You knew how old they were, what demographic they were. You knew exactly who your fan was. You can't say that now. We've got so many different segments of fans coming in. You've got those that may not be that interested in the sport itself, the event itself, but are as interested in the lifestyle. You may have those that are massively interested in, say, in Formula One, in the technical side of the sport. You know, somebody spotty, but aren't interested at all in the luxury side. You may have people who just are there to be seen and who are never going to watch the game or the match or the race. You know, they're there because it's lifestyle and because it's luxury. So you need to segment your audience better, I think. All sports need to do that and be able to create offerings around them. And that shouldn't matter whether they are, as I said, somebody paying $800 for a 3-day grandstand ticket who's being rained on and baked. They should also, they are the more passionate fans, so give them experiences. And I think a lot of other sports can do the same thing.
Can learn from that. No, totally. I agree with you. And just as a kind of a final question, after you got your career in F1 and everything, and being a lawyer, and now with More Than Equal, I want to ask, what goals and ambitions do you have for the future? That's either within motorsport or More Than Equal, or any other areas you're passionate about. Like, what do you want to? What goals? What ambitions do you have?
Well, I think apart from putting 2 or 3 women competitively into Formula One, with one of them winning the World Championship, right? So if we put that aside for a moment, you know, and I've reflected on this a lot over the last few years. But I think my passion is for live events. As I said, and we've talked about this a little bit, but you know, I think that that sport is in a really, really unique position. And one of the things that I often argue with people about is that now that we have lots of financial institutions and private equity coming into sport, they talk about the brand of Manchester United, they talk about the brand of Formula One, and they bring a different language that sport's not used to. And I argue with them and I say, you're missing the point here. Manchester United, you can call it a brand and they have a trademark, and so does Formula One. But you're missing the really important point, which is that, McDonald's and Coca-Cola are brands, but when was the last time, Coca-Cola ruined your week?
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you. It's I hate to say it, but my mood is so changed upon how the football goes or something like that. I don't get it. I don't let it get to me. But if my team loses and the rest of the day, I'm always going to be just a little bit annoyed. I'm like, but then if they win, I'm in a great mood. Like it's crazy. It's a thing I think this is why whenever I see people who don't have a pack for sport, I'm always thinking, I don't know how you can do that. And they always ask me, they're like, how are you so involved with it? I'm like, I can't tell you. It just feels like it's like part of me. This club, this person, it's part of me. It's like who I am.
When I was running the Paddock Club and the Global Hospitality at Formula One, listen, I have seen some of the most important people in the world, business leaders, celebrities, royalty. You get them at a sport event, and they're just children.
Yeah, they're just fans like anyone else, aren't they?
They're just children. And when people turn up to a live event, right, they just turn into kids.
Yeah.
And more so with sport.
Yeah.
So, it's great. Feed them fantastic food. They're not there for the food, but it should be good. But food. But, experiences of where it's at. Tap into the uniqueness that you have at a live event, which is somebody has paid to come through your gates when they could have watched another way. They could have downloaded the music. They could have watched on TV. They didn't. They came there. Why? They came there for a fantastic experience, and it's just one big, huge kids party. That's what sport and live events do. Just tap into the joy, the absolute childlike joy of at a live event. It doesn't be complicated. It can be really simple.
I totally agree. Nothing beats going to see live anything. I think I totally agree with you. Thank you so much for talking to me, Kate. I really appreciate it. It was really interesting here about More Than Equal. I know your involvement in the event industries over the past like 20 years. So yeah, thank you so much. And you can find Kate at the Event Summit in Manchester on October 8th. Tickets and links will be down below. I'll put them in the links. But yes, thank you very much for watching, and thank you, Kate.
Come join us.
Yes, exactly. See you soon.
Okay, thank you very much.